The Minnesota Vikings have had an active offseason so far, but how will that affect their 2025 NFL draft? My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing a 3-round mock draft for the Minnesota Vikings. Before we get into that, let's do all the YouTube things. Hit that subscribe button, tackle that bell, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of this mock. And Ryan, let's pull up the slide deck here for Minnesota. So, a lot of moves so far for Minnesota, both guys moving on and also guys that they have signed. The Minnesota Vikings and the Indianapolis Colts traded a couple of their key players, such as Cameron Bynum going to the Colts. So they lost a safety player there, but they did sign Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze, however it is, Will French Fries, from the Indianapolis Colts, really bolstering that interior. Great moves, in my opinion, as well, especially too if JJ McCarthy is going to be the quarterback one. It's funny, I saw an article or like McCarthy said, like, the Vikings haven't told me that I'm quarterback one. And it'd be like, they're your quarterback one. I don't know. Unless you go the full Aaron Rodgers route and they want you to sit another year, which I am all for that as a fan. Just saying the Brett Favre route, Aaron Rodgers coming over, just saying that's totally unrelated to this. But here in this mock, though, we did have them go with Tyler Booker here. I think too, this would be like the final, like, final nail in the coffin is normally like a bad thing, but like the final nail in the coffin to addressing this interior offensive line. As of right now, according to our lads, Blake Brandel is the starting left guard, according to our lads. But I think you go get Tyler Booker, make it a competition. And
Yeah.
even then, too, it's like, I think this is a guy that you just want to have on your team and can go and develop, and you can move on from Blake Brandel after this year. If he ends up winning out, have Tyler Booker develop. But then if you go look at that offensive line over these next couple of years, is you would have Christian Darrisaw as your left tackle here. You'd have Tyler Booker as your left guard. Then you would also then have Ryan Kelly over the next couple of years as well, and Will Fries over the next 5 years also too. So really just solidifying that offensive line. And then who was their other guy? I was just looking at it. Brian O'Neill as well
Yeah.
too as your right tackle. So very solidified offensive line for your young rookie quarterback, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, no, and I think that this would just be a good move. Uh, like you re-signed Aaron Jones. This is a really deep running back class, so you could go get a guy later. But I know Amari Hampton is on the board. That is a potential option there. But yeah, Tyler Booker, really solid offensive guard, really good in pass protection. He didn't test out great athletically, but I don't really care. like I at guard, I think athleticism is it's great to have, but it's often overrated because you're in a phone booth with these guys. And so the biggest thing is, are you stout enough? Can you hold up at the point of attack? And when you get your hands on guys, and can you drive the back in the run game? And Tyler Booker checks all of those boxes and then some.
Well,
Uh,
and then I think too, Mekhi Becton just had a career resurgence
yeah,
and just got a lot of money. And I think he weighs what, like 9,000 pounds or something like that. Like the dude, and
yeah, he's like
I don't mean that.
360.
Well, yeah, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean the dude's just a just a bowling ball of a human being, and like to be a guard, like you're right, like you just need to be a giant human being. Like it's great to have that athleticism, but if it's not there, you're just this huge guy that's hard to get around. That's you can get away with that in the NFL.
Yeah,
And so I just like Tyler Booker, what he brings to the table. You mentioned Amari Hampton, and I think that's kind of the other big option here as well. And the Vikings have done a good job in free agency in general. I do think this is a prime trade back spot as well.
yeah,
Um, there's a lot of great talent uh, in this draft, but not like surefire first round talent. So maybe if there are some teams like Cleveland, who's at the beginning of the second round, your Patriots, which are at the beginning of the second round, Raiders or Giants, this I think could be a very prime spot to trade back for the Vikings to trade back, and teams would want to trade up to jump a couple teams at the end of the first round, get that 5th-year control. But also then too, for the Vikings, they only have 4 picks in this draft as well, so they would get a lot more draft capital and can
yeah.
address some other needs. So I think the Vikings have done a really good job in this offseason, all things considered, as well. I really trust his coaching staff to do the right thing overall. And so it's going to be unique on what they end up doing here with this first round pick.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a lot of ways that they could really go wrong with this first round pick, but
Quarterback would be wrong. If they drafted like
okay,
Jackson Dart, that would be wrong.
fair. But that's not just that's like crazy.
That is a
That's
that is
not
wild.
wrong. That's
Yeah. We
crazy.
take Curtis Rourke with a
Yeah,
24th overall pick. Be like, that's a
yeah,
wrong pick.
yeah.
Almost
That's
as bad as like guards from UT Chattanooga.
I know, yeah. Uh, but before we get further on that subject, as a Patriots fan, let's go on to their next pick. So, this is actually just a compensatory pick from the Kirk Cousins contract. Talked about bad decisions by franchises,
True.
and so I think Aeneas Peebles, you go get Brian Flores, an aggressive pass rushing defensive tackle. I think that is going to be just a really solid pick there, and a guy that can come in pass rushing situations and provide some pressure at the top of the pocket is going to be much needed. They got Dallas Turner in this pass draft, and so I feel like that's going to be a good pass rushing duo there on the interior and on the edge, as well as Andrew Van Ginkel on the other side. So I really like this one. If they get a nose tackle, or they have a nose tackle, but he can play on 3 downs. He can be that 5 technique. He can be that 3 technique that you might want as well. And so I just like it. He's a versatile pass rushing defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think another spot too now, especially as we've seen more and more with about free agency and how it's played out. I do think this could be a unique secondary spot as well. A lot of these, like that, another wave of cornerbacks can come off the board here, and they lost Cameron Bynum, who I know obviously was a safety, but like maybe you go Andrew Makuba. They did like draft Kyrie Jackson last year, who then did unfortunately pass away in last year's offseason. So that was a guy I think that they could have developed, who could have stepped up, but uh, like I think this could be another spot too if they don't want to address the defensive line. Maybe they go secondary here with like a Kobe Bryant, Mello Dotson, Noel Williams, who was taken just right before this. But like I think this is going to be about that time where they end up going.
Yeah.
Andrew Makuba, I think I'm pretty sure I already mentioned that name. He was still on the board. Maybe get that free safety replacement post Harrison Smith. And so as he's still on the roster as of right now. So I think there's several different ways the Vikings can go. Once again, if they only have 4 picks, I do believe like they're probably just going to be going just best player available.
Yeah.
It's like you maybe want to address some needs, but at the same time though too, you're like let's just see the best value that we can get here. So it's going to be interesting what they end up doing at 97. Not saying Aeneas Peebles is a wrong pick. Love to hear. I think he would bring great value to the team. It's just what are some other potential ways they could think about that 97th overall pick.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think too at 24, look for a lot of teams calling to trade up for that pick, because I think the Vikings, it's
Yeah.
pretty well known that they only have a few draft capital, and it's always nice to be able to make more picks. So with that being said, let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Vikings 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.